On today's episode of the Bubs and T Bag Show, the boys do a deep dive into the world of turnbuckles, body slams, and foreign objects.
Midgets would crawl up you and put shots into your mouth.
T Bag starts a new career as a Costco greeter.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
Hey, this is Beef, standing by with Bubs. Tell the fans about your upcoming match at the Ponderosa.
I've been pulling thousands of miles and lifting thousands of pounds of weight.
I'm going to drop him on that stack of dimes that he calls a neck.
Stay tuned for all the Intercontinental Championship hype.
We're on?
We are on, baby. We're on another edition, lovely summertime edition, graduation cap and gown type edition of the Bubs and T Bag Show.
Really? Well, you're going with pomp and circumstance
Pomp and
today?
circumstance, baby. You know how it is. I've seen some youngsters in town here getting ready for it. You know, it's gives me hope. You know what I mean? When I see young folks getting ready to graduate and join the world at large.
Yeah, well, it's an exciting time.
Makes me wish I was still that age.
At least knowing what you know now and then go back? Or just
I'd even do it again, you know, if I didn't know anything.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, why
just
not?
ready to take on the world.
Why not?
Cock forward.
I had a good time, you know.
Hopes and dreams. Then later on, they're just crushed and dashed and wasted away.
Squandered.
Yeah, talent.
Flattened.
It's been a minute since the last show.
I know.
And our last sesh, as you like to say.
Well, I had
and I've been working the globe and training and studying.
Some type of Chinese I've
been
been
all
training,
over.
man. You're leaning out on me every time now.
17 down.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, I'm getting fucking ripped, flat-bellied and hard-nosed. All that international travel.
Not me.
From Phuket to Prince Albert to Sofia, Bulgaria. Studying the ancients.
What are you learning? Some type of martial art or what?
I'm training the body, training the mind, training the soul.
Yeah. You got like a Mr. Miyagi type that helps you, or do you just kind of travel on your own?
Self-taught.
Yeah. Success?
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm trying to exceed all expectations for our listeners.
What have you done so far? Anything, that...
Well, they're ancient secrets, corners of the globe, travel in the world.
You've been doing things to better yourself. Whereas I, all of last week, I was sick.
Yeah, you had bunga. You're not taking care of yourself. You got to get some sun. Look at me. Fucking tan.
I had some a couple days ago when I was on my damn
tractor. I feel
tractor.
like Ric Flair. I'm getting tan and losing weight. I'm going to grow my hair out.
I know. I got to get into the sort of circle of positivity that you're in with all the good things you're doing, to your body and mind. Mm-hmm. It's been a while for me.
Well, you got a shirt you can wear.
We got all kinds of shirts here at the studio, all kinds of flags, all kinds of little knickknacks. If
I
anybody
sent
has
you
any more,
a picture
of
a guest, Beef.
Yeah, he looked great in his shirt.
And he's walking along the beach in Florida wearing a Bubs and T Bag shirt.
That was a great picture. What was he doing over there?
He's down there because his girlfriend graduated.
Okay.
And they got a cruise type gift.
Well, congratulations to them both.
Yeah,
especially
the
her. She graduated. Yeah,
she's now not a mathlete,
but
a mathematician.
She's the real deal.
She's a real mathematician.
Yeah, congratulations, dear.
Yeah,
that's a college graduation. Though. Mm-hmm. I mean, there you're kind of like what you're getting into. High school, I was just thinking. I mean, it was.
Well, how big was your graduating class in whatever school, suburban school that you went to?
I'm guessing somewhere around probably 500. See, that would have been 97. I felt like my whole senior year was kind of just one big graduation thing. Like I was not a scholarly type student, but I did enough to be able to just kind of squeak by. My entire senior year was like a lot of fun from what I remember. Boy, I don't know about today's. I work with some people who are, graduating right now. There's a guy and a girl I can think of that one of the girls, her and her friend, the Brooklyn sisters, these girls, they go to a school up here.
Yeah.
Dude, talking to them, it's like they can't, they're chomping at the bit to get the fuck out of there.
Well, I had a unique experience because
They said they don't learn anything.
No. 3 kids. My oldest kid graduated in 19. 2019, and he wasn't a huge fan of school, so he said, F it, I'm not even walking.
Okay.
And, obviously his mother was disappointed in that decision of his, but it was his decision, fine. I secretly enjoyed that decision because then I didn't have to go sit out in the sun at some outdoor graduation and watch
Fry
500 other people go through and the dick nanigans.
And then your kid, you see him for all of 15 seconds.
Yeah. And then the following year was 2020, and the middle kid graduated.
Yeah.
And then it was, he had a more of a traditional type high school experience, like, I guess, hearkening back to mine and my wife and, just that kind of style of high school. But they they actually pulled it together. Two things that come to my mind for that graduation: the valedictorian.
This COVID though, right?
Yeah, this is full on COVID,
full blown AIDS portion of COVID.
First week of June in 2020.
Okay,
and they did a pre-recorded commencement speech by the valedictorian, who of course had to reference Floyd because it happened not even a week prior.
Yeah. You
and
definitely got to get those points in there quick.
Yeah, and so that was pre-recorded, and you could watch it ahead of time. And then the graduation they did is a drive-through graduation, and you drove through a big zigzag through the high school parking lot, and they had fire trucks and police there, and they had various teachers that were at different stations, and they'd wave, and you would drive through. And my son was in his cap and gown in the front seat, and we're driving, and he got up to a stage area, and they had two stages, and
and they handed you your diploma.
So he got up, walked on stage, got a photo. They gave him his diploma, or the facsimile of a diploma, and then he walked down the stairs. He actually hugged some people that weren't believers, some teachers that were pretty authentic, and some principals, and then got back in the car and we drove away.
Okay.
And that was it.
Wow.
But they tried to do something instead of other schools saying nothing. And then 2 years later, my youngest kid graduated, and we went
somewhat normal.
It was normal. We went to the thing. It was a traditional, they had a great keynote speaker that had been in the school district for 40 years.
Yeah.
Just retired, blah, blah, blah. And that was a traditional one.
Yeah.
And it was fine. But the one kid didn't do it. The other kid was COVID.
Yeah, got screwed out of it.
So 1 out of 3, it was a normal.
Wow. Man. I think for the most part, mine was normal from what I remember. The one thing I do remember about that kind of week leading up to it or whatever, or the last week of school, there was this one dude I knew. He was I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but he was a pretty good golfer. He was like, a pretty popular guy, I guess, or whatever. And like this dude on like 4 or 5 days before the last day of school, I don't know, there was some type of like a holding pond or something like that in the back of the school.
Okay.
It wasn't, manicured nicely or anything to make it look, it was just pure drainage. You know what I mean? Like a pond. I don't know. This dude got it in his head to, for some reason, jump into it and swim across it.
During graduation?
Nope. Just like during a study hall or something.
Right.
I was there when he did it.
Yep.
And man, the school really hung that kid out to dry for it. I don't think they let him walk in graduation.
Because of that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which made me kind of wonder, like, what's really in that pond? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
What is it, like a secret, CIA fucking moon base or something like that, or what? But
a couple of dead hookers in there.
Yeah, something. I don't know. This is like before Columbine too. It's like
Jason Voorhees is going to rip you out of the canoe.
He got screwed. That's about the only thing I remember about graduation was the fact that dude, I don't think he got to go to it.
Yeah.
Or if he did, they humiliated him or something and made him drive through it like they would, when your kid went through with COVID.
I remember sitting next to people, amongst people that I didn't know. And, I went inner city
your school was big enough? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think our class was in the mid 400s. It was a city school. You still had 5 other schools or 4 other schools, 5 other schools. So, it's, you're sitting in lawn chairs at the field.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting literally, I don't know, the person to the left and right of me, I have no idea who they are.
Yeah. Some dude who's last name matches almost up with yours type thing?
No,
It wasn't in alphabetical?
no,
No?
I don't know what order it was in because we were all in homerooms that were alphabetical.
Yeah,
So I don't know who this person was.
right.
And
You're just sitting next to some Yahoo?
yeah, sitting next to, and then there was a woman, but I didn't know any of these people. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, how you doing? What's your name? Oh.
I don't really have much to compare it to now other than some of the people I've talked to. Like I was saying, a couple of people I work with. And these two girls were saying that they don't teach kids how to like even write checks anymore. They don't teach them how to, there's no sort of financial instruction, I guess you could say, whatsoever, which is no surprise now when kids are taking on tens and sometimes hundreds of $1,000s in student debt on.
That's unforgivable.
Right.
In they passed those laws when they made those.
Right. Even if you go bankrupt, you still have to
pay that back because the government runs that.
Wow.
You know, when I went to college, there was government grants, but the loans were based off private loans.
Yeah.
That you took with a company.
Boy, college is really a fucking scam, Bubs.
It is a scam. I think you have to go to college dialed in.
If you were like, yes, I know I'm going to be a doctor type thing, I'm
Yeah.
going to be a surgeon, sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of these Ivy schools now,
Mm-hmm.
they're just giving away. It's a diploma factory. They're just giving.
Well, it's a club.
They're giving the educations away to more or less like minorities now.
Well, I
Whites
don't think so.
What do you mean you don't think so?
Well, they're giving it away, yeah, but it's only probably 20%. But you take that other 80% that's there going to, pre-law, pre-med at Harvard, they're still buckling down and getting it done.
A few. There's a lot though that, I mean, the whole reason that the affirmative action stuff got shut down in schools is because it got to the point where they're not really letting Asian kids in anymore. I've got to look into it. I don't have it right in front of me right now. It could maybe be something we talk about either later today or on another show. But there were, white and Asian kids who I believe were the people who sued or their families did.
Yeah, cream of the crop.
They
should have got
These were
in.
like the number, the top, 10th of a percent or whatever it was. And they were getting turned down by every Ivy League school.
Well, it only should be the best and the brightest, and it doesn't
happen.
matter who it is.
That didn't used to happen.
Yeah, they shouldn't have color or anything involved. It should just be the best and the brightest.
Right.
There are plenty of kids in Chicago, I guarantee, inner city Chicago kids that are dialed in who can get into Harvard legitimately.
Yeah.
There are. And there are
Absolutely.
black kids that can do it.
Absolutely.
There's kids out of Atlanta, in L.A., and those kids can do it. But
Right.
when they let somebody slide in
I think they're letting a
based
lot of
on your
sliding
pigment
right now.
is wrong.
I think they're letting in a lot of sliding right now.
Yeah.
The thing that scares me is some of the people that are sliding in are going to slide into medical school at some point.
Or pilot programs.
Right. And then I'm going to
aviators
show up to go to NYC or Miami or something like that, and I'll get on the plane and I won't get off. That shit terrifies me.
But you won't get on the plane anymore.
No, probably not.
No.
I will if I have to, but if I don't have to, I'd rather not fly.
Yeah. No.
I don't know anybody who wants to fly.
I don't mind flying.
Really?
Nope. I know I'm strapped with a few bolts to a metal container flying through the air cylinder made by people, and there's tons of moving parts.
Made by some guy from Boeing?
Well, Boeing's having some issues. There's ups and downs to what's going on.
Putting a hit out for the head R&D guy or whatever. Yeah, there's like 3 people that have died in that company recently.
Well, the whistleblowers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that's odd.
Why don't we just tap into more alien technology?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
why does it always have to be used in DARPA and fucking Black Ops and fucking secret planes? Why not just
why not give it to me?
Yeah.
Or you?
Yeah.
Or any other Yahoo on the street?
Well, I mean, let's get Boeing and dialed in on some interdimensional travel or some fucking wormholes so I can go from Minneapolis to Vegas in 14 seconds.
From what I heard, a lot of these places like Boeing, they're not exactly engineering things like they used to, I guess, anymore. It's all kind of fallen into that weird web of like diversity, equity, inclusion thing where like there's committees, that are deciding things.
Not
World
War II vets.
No, and a really good book I read.
Guys from NASA.
Like the guys who started Skunk Works.
Maybe Paperclip, Operation Paperclip.
Yeah. Those guys who like built the SR-71, for example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was just, we got this 10 smartest guys, in the world right here. And
Well, they're engineers that
Let's do
were
this.
experts in their craft.
yeah, I
No
don't,
pun
I don't,
intended.
I don't know that they're doing it anymore. I mean, they're a little bit, but the problem is that even if you have 10 smart people and you have, 15 not so smart people and then 2 or 3 managers that really suck ass, you know what I mean?
Larry, the manager over
yeah,
there.
it just-
God, is he a dick?
It puts a log jam,
Yeah.
log jamming.
Oh, yeah. Log jamming.
Good movie, man. Good movie.
Yeah, we'll have
The
to.
Big Lebowski.
I think we should do the Big Lebowski review. And it's not even a review. It's just us talking Lebowski on our, what is it, our 100th episode here coming up at the end of June.
That'd be a good one to watch.
You mentioned how they have committees and it's all based on race and you're not getting the best and the brightest. And we sat down as a family and watched Idiocracy again.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a lot of, it's not really they don't really delve into race much there, but definitely the stupidity of what's to come. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you keep printing out diploma factories to people that maybe shouldn't have had one,
That are substandard.
you're going to wind up with
Well, it's the dumbing down of society.
a lot of, your drinking fountain at work is going to be spewing Gatorade soon.
Yeah. What I'm amazed at, and I guess life was simpler, only 3 channels, cable was just coming on. You take kids today, they couldn't tell you what happened in the fucking 90s.
No way.
And there's no history.
Well, for the most part, they didn't all these tech people, I swear, I think they honestly just want anyone, in these younger generations to think that the world didn't exist before fucking YouTube.
Well, I agree.
You know what I mean? They're kind of rewriting history in their own sort of perverted
Yeah,
way.
but you can go down rabbit holes in YouTube, and I went down one a couple days ago.
You can, but
yeah.
if you're not, if you're just a meathead, typical window licking,
Kind of like the
doofus.
guy and the attorney in Idiocracy
Yeah.
who's sitting in his
Yeah.
toilet. The chairs
Is
are
he-
now toilets.
Is he ever going to go down any rabbit holes? No.
He's
just going to
he's
turn
gonna
it to
suck
the,
on the
he's going to turn it to the masturbation network.
Yeah.
And start baiting.
baiting.
Yeah.
I'm baiting. Hold on, I'm baiting.
Go away, baiting.
Baiting.
For those of you who are listening,
I gotta watch that movie.
all 20 of you, Bubs and I had watched a movie that's about 20 years old now.
2006.
Yeah. Called Idiocracy. It's basically a movie, real quick. It's a movie
It's a
basically.
time travel movie.
It's a movie where, first of all, it was made
Luke
by
Wilson.
Yep.
Well, no, he was in it.
Yeah, he's
Mike Judge.
he's the main guy. Mike Judge made it, who also made famously the cartoon Beavis and Butthead, and then he also made a movie in the late '90s that was really popular called Office Space.
So he's a talented individual.
Yeah, he really does. And if you go and look at the guy's kind of backstory,
Did he do Hank Hill as well?
yeah, I think he did, or at least started it.
Mm-hmm.
But this dude was college educated, absolutely, and an engineer, was working on Silicon Valley software stuff in the early '80s. I think he was working for a while on some project that ended up basically becoming the F-18 Hornet. Not a dumb
he had
man.
a sense of humor.
He really is funny.
For an engineer,
Yeah.
they're very linear, and some of them don't have senses
No,
of
he
humor.
it sounds like even quit a few of these jobs because he was like, I don't know what
Yeah,
these people I was working with were really doing.
On a side note, I have an uncle who was an engineer, but he only had a 2-year degree, ended up working down in Illinois for a telephone company, and he was kind of a mechanical electrical engineer.
Yeah.
But he started young enough and where you just start and you learn on the job. Didn't matter. But he was surrounded by people with doctorates and 4-year degrees. And he has an incredible sense of humor.
Yeah.
Just incredible. It's all the time.
Yeah.
When you're with him, you're always laughing. And he's never offended, and he loves offensive humor. But they always made a big deal about your pass, your ID, right? You had to have it on you and
Yeah.
to get in places. So at one point he had Walter Payton's picture, and he's white,
Yeah.
as his thing, and he said every engineer would walk in the elevator and just look down at his waist and look up at him and look at his waist and look down at him. And this is in the Illinois, greater Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
In the 80s, Walter Payton as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. He was God.
Yeah, but the engineers probably don't know who he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. They had no idea. Huh?
No. And then he changed it to Pope John Paul,
Yeah.
and then he changed it to, I don't know, something else. But he would just constantly fuck with these guys
Just having a few laughs, huh?
at their expense.
I wouldn't doubt if Mike Judge was like that.
Yeah, I think he's probably just sees things on a very observant.
Yeah.
Because he watched, I loved Beavis and Butthead because
Yeah,
I was in
90s,
college.
Yeah,
when
it was
came out.
hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah, everybody. I mean, I was in high school, but
that movie is great.
that's not bad. I loved Office Space.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wouldn't believe. Me, my brother, and my dad watched that movie a lot when we were, 1999, 2000, 2001. And I also liked Idiocracy. I remember a friend of mine, he had to tell me about it, even though at the time I was really into movies, but he said, hey, there's a new Mike Judge movie and it's actually really funny, but it's going to be really hard to see. It was only in theaters for like a week.
Yeah, it just
And
disappeared
I
with the
guess
video.
it wasn't even in theaters, I don't think, here. So for everyone listening, Idiocracy is basically a movie about, it's a guy who, volunteers for like an army experiment. And
He is
a woman,
statistically the most average soldier in every statistic and testing.
he's just a regular dude. He's not exceptional, in really any metric.
Average.
Yep. So he volunteers for this deal, and they put him and this girl who he doesn't know, who turns out to be kind of like, she's a prostitute, basically.
What's her pimp's name?
Upgrade.
Upgrade.
Yeah. They put him in this cryogenic experiment, and then the experiment loses funding a year or two later, and they forget about him.
No,
And
the guy that's
they wake
in
up
charge,
500 years later.
The guy that's in charge of the experiment hangs out with
Upgrade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
He's into the pimp lifestyle.
and then he gets busted, and then they rip him out of the program and then the program goes away, and then
And they forget about what they did with the test subjects.
Yeah, and they wake up like you said over 500 years later. America has devolved.
They realize that very quickly that everyone who is currently in the United States is basically retarded. And they have this little kind of vignette where they show a guy whose name is, Bubba or something like that. And he's some meathead. And he's out there he's having kids left and right with all kinds of different women. And he's a dumbass. And all his kids are, having kids at 18.
And they're dumbasses.
Then it shows, two really established, smart, professional, a couple in their 20s going, well, we don't think now is the right time to have kids. And they're making all these excuses for it. And they don't have kids. And then 500 years later, the world's populated by,
idiots.
Bubba's offspring.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the movie, give it a watch because it's really going to be relevant and hit home right now. When he finally wakes up 500 years in the future, they didn't really foresee the Google stuff happening yet, but they were close. They, with all the McDonald's, Carl's Jr., I remember, was a big one in that movie. Starbucks, Fuddruckers.
Yeah, Fuddruckers devolved into buttfuckers.
Yeah, it shows
Starbucks
the genesis of them changing their name. In the 90s, it was Fuddruckers, and then it becomes Butt Truckers or something like that. And then, there's one in between that. And then the last one is it's got the same type of logo and everything, but it's not called Fuddruckers anymore. Now they just call it Butt Fuckers. And
everything is sex-based.
yeah, everything. You go to Starbucks and you can get a hand job. You know what I mean? And you go get your taxes done, you can get a hand job.
Yeah.
If you order some food on the street and you don't have any money in your account and you start swearing at the food machine, it'll spray mist of I don't know if it's like Valium or something into your face to calm you down. And then it will say that it's taking your children because you're an unfit parent. It says your children are now in the custody of Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
So these corporations run the entire globe basically, which
and they
is
can't
scary.
figure out garbage,
Right.
and there's no repairs being done. Nobody. It's almost like Atlas Shrugged. Everybody that was smart disappeared.
They don't know how to grow crops.
Yeah, and they're using something based off of Gatorade, but what was it called?
It was called Brondo.
Brondo.
But it was
And
a sports
green.
drink, and
Yeah.
that's what
Electrolytes.
everyone drinks.
Electrolytes.
And nobody can tell you why other than it's got electrolytes.
And if they want to use water, they just it's in the toilet. Why would you use that?
Why would you need water? Like in the toilet?
It's in the toilet. Water's in the toilet.
It's a great movie, and I challenge anyone to not find some type of parallel between then and now. The one thing for me that I laughed at now, especially, the president is played by Terry Crews.
Camacho.
Who would,
President Camacho.
Even if you don't know who he is, like just from hearing him, as soon as you see him, if you look him up on the internet or something, you're going to know who Terry Crews is. Big, muscular dude. been in a lot of action movies and stuff. But he's the president.
He's got good hair.
Hector,
No, his name's
Louis
Dwayne.
Mountain Dew Camacho.
His name's Dwayne something something Mountain Dew Camacho.
His name is Mountain Dew there at one point. And he's the president.
Wrestler.
Yeah, he
He's
was
a porn star and wrestler.
Yeah.
Professional wrestler.
He comes in and gives his State of the Union speech. And, what you would think would be the building for the House of Representatives.
House and Senate. Joint chamber.
In this one, it's called the House of Representin'.
Yep.
And when he makes his entrance for his speech, I mean, it's just like a WWE type entrance or something like that.
Yep.
And I go, we're not far off from there. The other day, there was, what's her name? There was 2 women Congress.
Yeah, going at each other.
Yeah, one of them is Jasmine Crockett, who's, from some urban area, I think in Missouri or something like that. I can't remember exactly where.
And Green went after her.
Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I believe, is from Georgia. But these 2 were going full House of Representing, calling each other names. And then afterwards, the thing that really irked me was I got no problem with Jasmine Crockett, voicing her opinion, or the other one voicing her opinion either. What I kind of had a problem with was, she called her a bunch of names, and then afterwards, within 2 days, was selling her own merchandise of T-shirts about the names that she called her.
Called who? What?
Called Green.
Oh, all right.
And it's like we're in the House of Representing now.
Yeah.
Let me get a quick sound bite in, and then I'll make a T-shirt out of it, which should be absolutely illegal.
True.
So yeah, the guy basically spends the rest of the movie trying to figure out how he can get back to his own time. While he's trying to figure this out, the other people around him who are all stupid realize that he's the smartest man in the universe. Mm-hmm. And when he got frozen, he was by far considered very, very
average,
painfully average.
Not a go-getter.
How many times had you seen the movie before?
Probably 4 times before.
What do you think of it? Do you like it?
I enjoy it. I think it's just comedy.
Yeah.
And it's not deep. It's funny. Just Terry Crews's character and
he's
Dax Shepard, who plays Frito. His name is Frito.
Yeah, he's his lawyer.
He's his lawyer, and he's baiting.
Go away, baiting.
Baiting. It's a good movie. It's entertaining. Give it a watch.
It's weird what happened to this movie on release. I mean, it didn't get released at all. And this guy had, even though Office Space was not a hit in theaters,
it's a cult classic.
But it was massive on rental, which was still a huge thing.
And it's still today.
Yep.
It's woven in the fabric of anybody that's seen it.
Right. So, I mean, this guy, he had done Beavis and Butthead and he did Office Space. So, this should be big. But when this movie came out, they purposely torpedoed it.
Why do you think that?
I'll read a couple of things here that I discovered about it. I think the thing that makes the most sense to me is they used real companies, a lot of them, in that movie. Starbucks, they name them. Starbucks, They show their logos, everything. Carl's Jr., Starbucks, H&R Block, all, everything. With the exception of Gatorade, which is
like
turned to
Pepsi's in there, but it's spelled wrong.
Yeah.
It's all like...
But they still had to get permission for that.
Yeah.
And, pay people or whatever. I think the problem is that maybe some of these businesses, which are massive, went, well, wait a minute, you're using our name and stuff like that, but then...
Our product placement isn't helpful.
But let me get this straight.
We're butt fuckers now?
We're a coffee company that's giving hand jobs? Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it probably had something to do with that. Idiocracy's original release date was August 5th, 2005, according to Mike Judge. In April 2006, the release date was set for September of 2006. In August, numerous articles revealed that the release was to be put on hold indefinitely. Idiocracy was released as scheduled, but only in 7 cities.
Wow.
In only 130 theaters, not the usual wide release of 600 or more. According to 20th Century Fox, the film's distributor was entirely absent in promoting the feature, while posters were released to theaters. No trailers, no ads, and only two still photographs, no press kits were released. The film was not screened for critics. Lack of concrete information from Fox led to speculation that the distributor may have actively tried to keep the film from being seen by a large audience.
So he probably got paid off.
Maybe. But they still had to fulfill a contractual obligation for theatrical release ahead of a DVD release. So they wanted to make money. They just apparently didn't want to piss anybody off. The film's ads and trailers tested atrociously, but still abandoning Idiocracy seems particularly unjust since Judge had made a lot of money for Fox. In the New York Times, Dan Mitchell argued that Fox might be shying away from the cautionary tale about low-intelligence dysgenics because the company did not want to offend either its viewers or potential advertisers portrayed negatively in the film. There we go. The rumor was because we use real corporations in our comedy. I mean, Starbucks was giving hand jobs. These companies gave us their names thinking they were going to get pumped up, and then we're like, welcome to Costco. I love you. Which is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
So the one guy, Frito, who's his attorney, at one point they find themselves in Costco, which Costco takes up probably, you think Costco's
miles
big now?
and
Yeah,
square miles.
I mean, 7,000 acres or something.
No, it's huge. It's bigger than that. It was gigantic.
But
it takes 2 days to get to the backside.
Yeah, when they walk in, there's like this really overweight dude in a Costco bib because everybody's just so stupid. And he's just standing there, and his only job is to look at people as they walk in and look at them and say, welcome to Costco. I love you. Welcome to Costco. I love you. When they walk into Costco, the lawyer, Dax Shepard, tells Luke Wilson, oh, yeah, I went to law school here. Because apparently Costco, does everything instead of just selling you groceries and whatever else you need. They also will educate you in the future, which wouldn't surprise me.
It had a tram system in it.
Yeah, it had everything.
Yeah,
it was massive. It was its own city.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it, Bubs. We talk about how these colleges are collapsing. Well, I mean, they're definitely they're on the downward spiral, it seems like. But
yeah,
who's going to fill that vacuum? I'll tell you who. Fucking Amazon or McDonald's. They're going to have a college someday.
Well, McDonald's does.
Well, they have Hamburger College.
Yeah, down in Chicago, you can go to McU.
Have you ever been to the big McDonald's? It's called Rock and Roll McDonald's in Illinois. I believe it's in Chicago. It's the biggest McDonald's in the world.
It's right downtown, isn't it?
I guess so, yeah.
Maybe I have.
Man, I wish I could go to that one.
Why can't you?
Well, I don't live there.
Well, go.
Well, dude, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, I can't go.
Go tomorrow.
Down the
You
street.
can go tomorrow. You can drive to Chicago.
I don't want to go there that bad.
7 hours. They used to have a bar down in Chicago or just outside where midgets would crawl up you and put shots into your mouth.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
Very unsettling.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Small arm to head ratio.
Sounds small hands.
That's just the humerus bone to the head. It's fucked up.
For me, man, I could watch Idiocracy probably once a month.
Yeah, I could, I don't mind watching it once a year. Like,
Upgrade.
That's a great pimp name. Did you see how they spelled it?
Yeah, it's like UPGRAYYED or something like that.
Yeah, UPGREEYEED. Upgrade.
Yeah, in the future, spelling is not really at a premium.
Oh, I saw another movie.
Which one?
Iron Claw.
Oh, with the
Von
wrestling
Erichs.
one with Zac Efron with his weird haircut or whatever.
Yeah,
He's got like the Dutch boy, haircut type thing.
Well, their hair is prominent in the movie. It's kind of like Kingpin.
Did you go to a theater to see it?
No, it was streaming.
Okay, yeah. You saw it.
Yeah, I was, back
What do you
in the
think?
day, I was a huge wrestling fan.
I haven't seen this one. I know about wrestling, but give us your 2 cents on the movie, buddy.
It's Iron Claw. It's based on the Von Erichs out of Texas. So Kerry Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich. So Zac Efron is Kevin Von Erich. And if you watched wrestling in the 80s, you'd know who he is. And even into the 90s. 70s too. But so it's a Texas family. Their dad, Fritz Von Erich, was a wrestler in the 60s and 70s. And his patented move was the Iron Claw. Up here we had Baron Von Raschke, who did the claw. Down in Texas, it was Fritz. And then he created the, I don't know if it was the WCW down in Texas. So that was the regional wrestling down there. And he got all his boys into it. And he had, I believe, 5 sons. And this is an uplifting tragedy story of, it's a horrible fucking life story.
A lot of them died, or a couple of them I know died in the 80s.
4 out of 5 are dead.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like one, suicide, drugs, the whole thing, right?
All of it, yeah. And the only one that survived was Zac Efron's character.
Is that guy still?
He's still alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he with it, or is he drooling in a cup somewhere?
No, he seems to be with it. I kind of did a little backstory. I was like, I know all their faces, but the big guy that I remember was Kevin, but it was Kerry Von Erich, who was, I think, younger than him, who came onto the scene.
Yeah, he was big.
Had the long hair, big dude, athlete. He was an Olympic. I think he tried to go. He was going to be in the Olympics, but then got boycotted by Carter.
He shot himself, I think, right?
He shot himself on the family property. It's a horrible fucking story. I think the dad was probably just some overbearing guy.
Something happened there, yeah.
And, you watch any of the, like the Wrestler, that was a fictional take on it, or you look at, the Nature Boy's fucking autobiography or any of these guys, and they're all tragedies because it's just steroids, painkillers, coke, and just keep grinding it out, right?
So is that basically kind of what the movie is?
Well, the movie was really based on a lot of family stuff. I mean, they were a very tight-knit family, and they believed their dad to the hilt. It was almost like a cult. Yeah. And whatever the dad said, and the dad just kept putting them into wrestling and then putting them out on that circuit and grinding them out. And even if they were hurt, or got hurt, just keep sucking it up. And then they were taking the roids. And
yeah, those guys were big, man.
I remember Kerry Von Erich coming out to Stranglehold. That was his big signature.
Was it?
Yeah, fuck yeah. It was good.
He actually was, like, I think, a WWF guy for a while, too.
He went to that for a minute, but you want to know what's something that I never knew about him? He had lost his foot in a motorcycle accident.
I heard that. And he was wrestling with one foot, basically.
With a prosthetic.
Like hidden under his boot, basically.
Yeah, and he figured it out and sucked up the pain, and I'm sure it turned into a nightmare for him.
What I'm wondering, Bubs, is do they show, like, guys like Hulk Hogan and fucking Roddy Piper and, Ric Flair in this movie?
They show Brody. I can't remember his nickname. Something Brody.
Bruiser Brody,
yeah. So I remember seeing him in person.
Aaron Dean Eisenberg plays Ric Flair. The Iron Sheik, was he in there?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And then Ric Flair's in there. He does the guy who plays Ric Flair nails him.
Does he?
Yeah, even the look. It was.
What about the woo?
Oh yeah, the woo's there, but the whole style, baby. I'm pleasing women and fucking cash and checks.
Yeah, Ric Flair was good.
Some of the iconic interviews, yeah, they're there.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I did hear a little bit about it.
The movie is okay. It's. I knew that a couple of them had died. I think I remember hearing like 2 or 3 had died. Over the years.
Yeah,
I knew Kerry Von Erich died, and another brother died, but I didn't realize 4 out of the 5 were dead. And there's a brother in there that they don't even talk about, that it doesn't make the movie. Like they
really?
Don't even, yeah. And so he's dead too.
Bummer.
Yeah. And then they had a younger brother. I think might have been the oldest son, who was a child at the time, died as a child.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit. I have not seen this. I've heard a tiny bit about it.
They could have done the movie better, because you don't know, like, the whole, like, I don't want to say backstories, but like, they just kind of came in as characters, and then you don't really know, like, well, why are they so flawed? You had Zac Efron, Jeremy White plays Kerry Von Erich. Physically, they make him kind of look like it, but you know what? Kerry Von Erich was a big dude, and the dad was huge.
Yeah.
And this other guy named, the son David was like as big as the dad in real life. And so they take some fictional or liberties with it. Yeah.
A lot of I'm reading a little bit of like reviews here while you're talking about it. And a lot of the kind of consensus of at least what I'm reading is that, things like powerfully acted, but profoundly sad.
It was horribly sad.
Yeah.
And I think it was hard to not relate, but feel sympathetic to the characters.
Yeah.
Like they didn't give you that. A little bit with Zac Efron's character as Kevin. But he's kind of, the hair and his just mannerisms are so weird, but maybe that's how that dude was.
But
he's the one that lives.
The physical violence in the ring will be nothing compared to the psychological carnage happening outside of it.
Mm-hmm. They need to give you more, like, Kerry Von Erich, just kind of, the Jeremy White guy. And you know who he is. He was in Shameless, and he's in the TV show Bear. He's like one of the big, is Bear the one where he's the chef? Yeah, it's a very good show. I've heard that. Very good show. He always freaks out and stuff? No, it's a very good show. I live with a foodie, so I've watched it. Yeah, you like it? I enjoyed episodes, and there's a couple episodes that they did so well, dialed in on restaurants, that it's incredible. Yeah. But, so he plays Kerry Von Erich, and Kerry Von Erich is probably 8 feet taller than him, in real life, and probably outweighed him by 80 pounds. Whatever. Dude, there was another movie, a wrestling one that came out a few years ago that I never saw, but it was more of a collegiate wrestling one.
and it was called Foxcatcher. Did you ever hear about that one?
That's with the DuPonts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
Sick fucker.
That guy was like, he sponsored the training for all these like really high-end college wrestlers.
Was he out of like Pennsylvania or
I
he
think
was
so.
East
Yeah,
Coast?
yeah, DuPont, yeah, somewhere. And the guy who played it was Steve Carell.
I know he did a great job.
Did you see the movie? Because I only saw little bits and pieces, but Carell was like this really like, boy, even looking at him on the screen was like, I don't want to be around this guy.
He's a creep.
You were just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he was a creep.
Did you see the movie or no?
No.
I didn't either, but
I know the story.
it's an interesting, like that was another one where I think some wrestlers died.
Yeah. I
Man,
think one wrestler's died.
wrestlers, they don't have a very long shelf life, do they, man?
No.
I still can't. I don't know how like a guy like Ric Flair is still.
That guy must have just they reference
existing.
him, you know. They talk about he's in there. Kerry Von Erich wrestles him for the heavyweight. I think it's Kerry, or maybe it was Kevin. I don't know which one, but he kind of blows it on purpose.
Yeah,
self-destructs, and then Ric Flair comes, and they're all in the back locker room because they all know each other.
Yeah,
and it's fine. It's somewhat scripted and blah blah blah. But he goes, man, you crazy man. I'll wrestle you anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
You guys want to go get fucked up?
Yeah.
Let's go get fucked up. That was his thing. He was drinking like a case of beer, or
Ric
every
Flair?
night. Yeah.
I heard all those guys basically did all the beer and all the drugs that were like within arm's reach. Most of them.
Yeah, and the women.
If you want to see a cool kind of like documentary about wrestling, there's one that came out 5 or 6 years ago. I think it's just called Andre, or it might be called Giant.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
But it's on
it.
HBO
Yeah.
or Max, as it's known. And that one is good because it shows Ric Flair is in there featured pretty extensively, as is Hulk Hogan, as is Vince McMahon. And these guys are all telling Andre the Giant stories. And you can tell that these guys were all very seasoned connoisseurs of substances.
Yeah, all of them.
These guys, when they weren't wrestling, you could tell that they were drinking, popping pills, and doing blow, and, hooking up with women, cashing checks. But Ric Flair and all these guys would sit there and tell stories, about Andre, and they would say, like, hey, we were crazy. Andre the Giant was in an entirely other league other than himself. Ric Flair is quoted as saying, like, I was on an airplane with him one time, and I'm not kidding you, brother. He drank 143 beers while we were on the plane.
Yeah.
And
well, he was a giant.
Yeah,
His
like
liver was the
like
size
he knew
of life.
exact, like they had, somebody had counted the cans at one point or something like that. And he goes, yeah, he drank 104, and it wasn't like they were going on an 18-hour flight. It was like New York to LA or something like that.
Sure.
Where
Crushing them.
Yeah, I guess Andre the Giant had an appetite for alcohol like unlike anyone. It wasn't uncommon for him to drink 10 to 12 bottles of wine in one sitting because he was actually a Frenchman by birth. Mm-hmm. I believe his real name was Andrei Roussimoff or something like that. Man, some of those wrestling stories, they're just fun to listen to.
I think ESPN did something where it was
really fun to listen to.
Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, and they're all depressed. It's all depressing.
Yeah.
Those guys went out there and gave it their all. Like even in the Iron Claw, the one woman goes, well, it's all fake. He goes, it's not fake.
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, scripted. And he's kind of like, yeah, but you're out there physically doing it.
Yeah.
And
they're getting their ass kicked.
Yeah.
Some of those guys were beating the dog shit out of each other.
And there's deals where that Kevin Von Erich was supposed to go up against like the current world champion. And the guy came down to wrestle him in Texas and body slammed him or souffled him on the concrete.
Really?
Without holding back.
No shit.
And just to let him know that I'm the big boy still.
I was reading recently, Bubs.
What did you find?
So yeah, I've been listening, or excuse me, I've been reading recently about some wrestling stuff because I knew you were going to bring up this movie. So one of the things I was interested in was just kind of like how you become a wrestler. You know what I mean? And a lot of these guys.
At which point? Like Ric Flair, how did he become
one?
Well,
or take me, for example. Let's say I'm not 45 and rotund and swollen like you see now.
So back when you had a rocket arm and a muffin ass.
Yes, the salad days, as they say. How would a guy like me get into wrestling? And it sounds like a lot of these dudes go to these kind of academies or whatever.
And it was regional.
Yep. It was very regional, and I think it still is in a lot of ways. So a lot of these guys, though, they would go into these academies and they would try to learn wrestling. And a lot of them would get beaten up really bad because, you know, you're a new guy, you go in there and they treat you bad. Like Hulk Hogan even said he went into one in Florida and these guys broke his fucking leg on day one. Mm-hmm. And he came, you know, he went home, you know, in a cast or whatever and went back a couple of weeks later. He said his dad, you know, was, what the hell are you doing? And he goes, well, if I don't go back, you know, and they did. They kind of, at that point, realized, all right, this guy's back. Mm-hmm. So they take him in. In the 90s, late 90s, and around the time I was graduating high school, wrestling had become this thing where it was during the WWEs, they call it like the Attitude Era, where it's a little different than now. At this time, it was a bunch of guys like Triple H, and those guys were the wrestlers of the day, the Kurt Angles, The Rock. And they were really, really derogatory. Like there was a real derogatory.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Come on.
They were real derogatory in that. It was my favorite time other than probably the early to mid 80s with the WWF or AWA.
AWA, yeah. Any one of those regions. It's those guys that could get on the mic and improvise and talk.
They were great.
Randy.
Yeah, he was the best. Savage was
He was
best.
good. He wasn't the best, but he was
I
good.
think he was pretty good.
Even Jesse.
Yeah, he was great.
Jesse was phenomenal.
But in the late 90s, this thing had kind of taken over where wrestling had become so popular. You've got the internet a little bit. Some file sharing stuff is starting to show up. And a thing that was happening back then was this deal called backyard wrestling, where kids were camcordering themselves, wrestling in their backyards and doing
smashing tables.
Pretty crazy shit. Yeah, like really, you know, doing some kind of dangerous
coming off
shit.
the high rope.
I think that this incident that I'm about to describe next is basically what kind of happened here. I read this one and I thought it was fascinating. I saw some video of it and you can't really see everything because at the time there's only a few surviving kind of copies of the incident. But this is a good example of how some kid who had done nothing more than maybe backyard wrestling at the time wound up almost getting himself fucking killed in a real wrestling match. This was called the mass transit incident. If you're a wrestling fan, it's probably...
What year?
96, November 23rd, so right around Thanksgiving of 96. This was a Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, which I think was a pretty big thing.
I can picture their logo.
At the Wonderland Ballroom, it was a house show, meaning it wasn't necessarily televised. It was just for like, you know, coming into town for one night and doing a show for the fans live. So Axel Rotten had been scheduled to work a tag team match with Devon Dudley against the Gangsters, one of whom was New Jack, who was a wrestler, the other one being Mustafa Saeed, but could not make the show due to a family emergency. The show was also scheduled to feature dwarf wrestlers, Tiny the Terrible and Half Nelson, against 17-year-old Eric Kulas.
Half Nelson.
Who performed under the name Mass Transit as a Ralph Cramden-esque bus driver. Mm-hmm. That was his gimmick.
Okay, gotta have a gimmick.
Kulas / Mass Transit convinced ECW owner Paul Heyman, he's a big name in wrestling. This isn't some fly-by-night thing.
Was it Hammond?
Heyman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
To have him fill in for Rotten by claiming he was 19 and had wrestled for Killer Kowalski, a retired star wrestler who ran notable school in the Boston area. So this kid's underage, and he's claiming that he's wrestled for a very established, you know, former trainer or something like that. None of it was true. New Jack later claimed that he had attempted to dissuade Kulas from going through with the match. Instead, Kulas asked New Jack to blade him, since he had never done it himself, to which New Jack agreed. Blading is when you purposely cut yourself to draw blood in wrestling.
Yeah, pretty common.
Yep, and especially in this ECW one, it was very common. And this guy, New Jack, I guess it was even more common. Mm-hmm. He would do it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Dusty Rhodes.
Now, these guys, generally when they blade themselves.
Yeah.
And I guess this new guy went into the locker room area or whatever and was kind of like, here's what I want to do for the match. And, you know, New Jack was like, what the fuck is this guy telling, you know, what? You know, there's a real pecking order, I guess, in wrestling. So then on top of it, the kid asks him, hey, after telling him how he wants the match to go, he then says, would you mind blading me for me? And the dude's like, yeah, no problem. And he bladed him and almost killed him. At the end of the match, New Jack bladed Kulas with a surgical scalpel, as the two had agreed, but cut too deeply and severed 2 arteries in Kulas' forehead. He screamed in pain, then lost consciousness as blood poured from his head. And then afterwards, you know, they had to bring like medics into the ring and shit like that and fucking stabilize.
And when
the
you're
guy.
sitting there, you don't know what's real or what's not.
And the dude who cut him too was like selling it afterwards.
Yeah.
He was cool. I don't care if the motherfucker dies. He's white. I don't like white people. I don't like white people from Boston. I'm the wrong nigga to fuck with, is what he said.
God.
And this was a grown man who had, you know, cut this dude so badly that he had to be rushed, you know, I mean, like code 3. It almost canceled. It did lead to the cancellation of ECW's first pay-per-view event, which was called Barely Legal.
So these guys were on the fringe.
Yeah, but I think that those people. I think that ECW is still a thing.
I thought it was too. Yeah.
Kulas died on May 12th, 2002 at age 22 due to complications from gastric bypass surgery. I guess he was a real big kid.
Did you ever go to a wrestling match?
Well, I was working it, you know. I mean, like,
so you never went as a kid?
Not as a kid, but I remember when I was a kid, my dad used to do security at the AWA matches once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they had the
And
studio.
on Saturday morning, AWA would be on. And I always remember
Sunday mornings.
We would turn it on sometimes and it'd be like, oh, there's Dad. You know, you could just see a flash of him kind of standing by the ring. You know, he had this big mustache, so it wasn't hard to spot. But
so was it for the studio audience there at the studio?
I think these were, I don't know where they did the wrestling ring matches.
Well, they had where they just for the TV they did it down at a studio.
You mean like the promos and stuff where they talked to Mean Gene or what?
That, and they had the studio where they wrestled.
Okay,
yeah.
they would, huh?
Yeah, and then their offices were right downtown, like on the Skyway level. And my dad would run into like Mad Dog Vachon and all these guys, all at the Crusher, all the time.
The Crusher.
But we would go to these matches. I remember
went to
being
one.
like 8 years old, going to the Brawl in St. Paul.
Was it pretty cool?
It was right after. It was either Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving, and I was 7 or 8.
Yeah,
I thought this shit was real.
I did too.
And I was scared. And we were like
I was scared too.
row 20, like, holy shit.
I would get scared
and they
when
were
the guys
pointing at me.
when they yell at you.
They were pointing at me.
Yep. They'd be like, I'm going to get you. You know? And
I was
it
like,
really was
wow.
scary.
And then we went to I went to a cage or battle royal one time. Mad Dog Vachon won it because he got thrown through the second rope, not over the top.
Really?
And he kind of lingered, and then he took the bell, and I think he hit Big John Studd in the head with it.
Yeah.
You know, the ring
Yeah.
bell, and then he won. But it was, man, I went to a lot of these. I saw the Road Warriors.
I was terrified of those guys.
I was older, but I went to it. I think they were by that time in the WWE, and it was out at the Met Center.
Yeah.
Hawk and Animal were walking out with Precious Paul, and I slapped Hawk right in the shoulder, and it was like slapping concrete. And they just slapped him.
No kidding, huh?
Oh yeah, I love that shit.
Yeah.
I love the shit talking, the interviews.
One of those guys is like one of the number 2 dudes at the WWF now.
One of the what?
One of the Road Warriors.
How are they still around? They're older than me.
No, he's like a
higher up.
Yeah, he's like right underneath McMahon.
Well, one of them died.
The other one, it's Laurinaitis, and his kid is
a football player.
His
A football player.
Yeah, his kid was like a huge stud in the NFL.
Yeah, middle linebacker.
Yeah, he's still in the game somehow. I think to the point where, like, you know, because McMahon has once again been caught literally with his pants down. I think they're kind of dragging him through it a little bit too because he knew about it. So I don't know exactly like.
You know
what's
what
going on
the Road Warriors are attributed to? What fashion?
Mad Max.
Fashion.
I don't know, spiked armor and Mad Max shit.
Zubaz.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, Zubaz.
You must have had a lot of those.
I had 2 pairs of Zubaz. One was a white tiger stripe, and then I had a blue. Like
Did you?
Electric blue.
No kidding.
Oh,
huh?
fuck yeah, we wore that shit. Mesh shirts.
I had
It's the 80s.
I had 1 pair of Zubaz and then maybe 4 pairs of fake Zubaz where, like, you know, the mom would sew them out of the fabric.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, but the only way you could tell if it was a real Zubaz was the tag that was kind of by the crotch area.
Yeah. Not too many years ago, up in the area in which I live, they had a lower level wrestling event at the high school. You know, where they
Like
set
a
up
pro wrestling.
pro
event.
wrestling, and one of the teachers was actually a pro wrestler.
Okay.
And so my kids knew it, you know, and we went, and they were in high school, and I never laughed so fucking hard. The entire, I enjoyed that so much, and
Really?
and the people that showed up out of these fucking timberdoodles came out of the woodwork.
Yeah, right. Like,
Type of people, It's the type of people you only see at a carnival, and they were amped up.
For Deliverance.
100%. You almost think they're ringers in the crowd, but they weren't.
Ready to dig into Ned Beatty's ass.
Oh, well, this river don't go to no entry.
Is it Tuesday again?
But it was a good time. I would recommend if in your town.
If wrestling comes to town.
It comes here. Trust me, it comes here.
I don't think I've ever been to one where I was like, as a kid spectating it. But
man, you missed out, dude.
I know.
And the amount of and anybody that went to the Minneapolis Auditorium or the Civic Center or the I can't remember what the one inside the Civic Center was called.
Roy Wilkins.
Yeah, or you went to the Met Center for the bigger ones, but it was always at like the Civic Center that I went to, or the Minneapolis Auditorium, because that's gone now. That's where the convention center's at.
Yeah, they were always good.
The beers, right? Beers, 3-2 beer served in a giant cup, plastic wax cup, or paper wax cup,
99¢,
and they were 4 inches thick with beer, and then they would loop them in, and those things were raining in like mortar rounds onto the stage. And those guys would walk around with their arms out, flipping fuckers off. And there would be 80-year-old women ringside doubling up the 2 fingers.
Yeah, they thought it was real too.
Oh, my God. And it was just chaos. Just chaos and pandemonium.
I got a cousin who's probably 10 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. And he's got some friend there who's in the WWE right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't remember what the dude's name is, but a few years ago he was, wrestling, and they were in town here. And I guess they do like, the show, and then they sometimes do the house show type thing, where that one is not really for a TV audience. And my cousin and a bunch of his friends went to that one. And he said it was so great because, like, a lot of the stuff you get to see there, they don't show on TV, They said his buddy, who's a bad guy.
A heel.
He's a heel. Yeah. Yep. When he finally got to do his match or whatever, he got to talk to some of the people and was like, oh, I got to say, it's terrible to be back in Minnesota. You know what I mean? And then and he goes, and all you guys who showed up to my match, I can't stand you. I hated you in high school. And Mom, I can't stand your cooking. Like, that's the kind of shit, though, that gets sent out.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
That's things like that are why wrestling is awesome to me.
Well, I remember sitting at home, and I grew up in Minneapolis. Jesse Ventura's from Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
Love him or hate him. His character of Jesse the Body was phenomenal through the 70s and 80s, right?
It was.
And even into the 90s, he milked it. In his voice and his ability to improv. But he was on the Tonight Show, right? And he's got the garb on, and he's got the fucking dream fucking
the boas.
And he's got these cowboy boots on that are black and white, right? So they're white with black little dots on them, right?
Yeah.
And so then I don't know if it was Johnny or maybe Joan Rivers or whatever goes, "Hey, where'd you get those boots?" I must have been all set up, and he goes, "Oh, I got these down in Tijuana. I went down to a Dalmatian farm and I picked out the puppies I wanted them to skin." And then I had a pair of boots made out of Dalmatian puppies.
He was freaking good, man.
I mean, think about that. That's phenomenal. But these guys would just come up with that shit. And the whole thing, their whole shtick was to get the interviewer to laugh. They were always trying to get Mean Gene to laugh.
Man, did you ever see this one commercial that Jesse Ventura did about Chicago Lake Liquors? It must have been in 1985.
Yeah, I grew up with that shit.
Minneapolis, St. Paul, listen up. This is Jesse the Body Ventura talking to you from the Chicago Lake Liquor Store across from Sears in Minneapolis. Where should you turkeys go to buy your beer? Chicago Lake Liquor Store. You can get the finest in domestic beer as well as imported beer. You can drink little bottles or drink it like the Body does.
Chicago Lake Liquor is the #1 beer store. They buy more, so you buy for less. Save even more on 3K Special. #1, Chicago Lake Liquor.
Those are the good old days, man. That's how I grew up.
And it shows him he's holding a beer keg under his arm.
Yeah, well,
like it's nothing.
You know who else used to do that? Was the Crusher.
Did he?
Yeah, he did the same thing. And there was Big Top Liquor down in Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing. Come on down. I was knocking guys off bar stools when I was 10 years old. But those were local characters, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's, you know, whatever. It's huge. It's big. It's international. It's big. It's
way
wherever.
big.
It's corporate. It's way over on the East Coast.
Yeah,
or West Coast.
it's like it's almost too fucking weird now.
It's too synthetic. You know, the thing they're missing is I'll watch occasionally, like, you know, something WWE, WWF, or whatever's on after a sporting thing I'm watching, and you're just like, God, it's just so over the top.
It's a little too
soap
shiny.
opera.
It's a little too
shiny.
Yeah.
Shiny. I like that rawness. I like that guy that can just improvise a speed. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, their rivalry, that was phenomenal.
The Rock had some great.
Yeah,
He could really,
yes, he can hold an audience
in a ring. Yeah, when he gets up and does his eyebrow.
Yeah,
and, if you smell, he was great.
Stone Cold, double fingers, crushing
Yeah.
beers on his head and throwing them at people. And
I'm gonna drop him on that stack of dimes that he calls a neck.
yeah, but that was somebody saying that in 1966,
Right.
You know, it's the same shit. That's all it is. No, I like who was it? Superstar Billy Graham. He was in the mid 70s.
What did he say?
Well, you have a Vince McMahon who was about 28 interviewing him.
Yeah.
And I think they were probably maybe he was out of Arizona. Well, he was from Arizona, but I think he was probably wrestling on the East Coast somewhere. And you watch the black and white interviews with superstar Billy Graham, and this guy is built, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
built. And he's doing the shtick, and it's just, don't touch my arm.
Yeah.
You people at home eating your fucking, you know, turkey leg dinners and your TV dinners. I've been pulling thousands of miles and lifting thousands of pounds of weight. I'm making love to your women, you know.
Yeah.
And this is on a Saturday night. This is what you're watching at home.
My favorite was I liked Macho Man when he would do the promos with Mean Gene.
Yeah.
You could tell that most of them were off the cuff.
Well, and he was a little coked up.
Oh yeah, absolutely was. Yeah. That's right, baby. The cream of the crop.
Oh, the cream. I'm holding it right here in my hand. I'm holding the cream.
Rise to the top.
Here it is, Elizabeth.
I got something for you. Superstar Jimmy Snuka, you're going down.
Yeah. Saturday night, I'm going to take you down. Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Undeniably in a position I'd rather not be in.
I'm fired up.
I know.
I get fired up
They
with
are
the
good.
wrestling.
Let me tell you.
It's entertainment. And there was no fucking wokeness. There was no fucking shit. It was just entertainment. And guess what? You went to school with all that I went to school with.
Yeah,
and we were all on the same page, laughing.
Yeah, and probably some of the people at school were related to some of the wrestlers.
Probably, yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, Bubs. If you don't get yourself into pocket here and take another sip of that whiskey, I'm going to pick you up and drop you on that stack of dimes.
I hope you bring it here, baby. I'll snap you like a fucking pretzel.
I guess we're going to be seeing you next time ringside, baby. It's going to be my belt.
Saturday night.
You'll pay for the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. Yeah, those days are gone, buddy. What would you give Iron Claw, though? Like 1 to 10?
6.5. It's entertaining. If you're a wrestling fan like I was, it's fun to watch, but it's a super depressing story. I mean, it's more than a Greek tragedy. I wish they would have gave the characters a little more depth, I guess.
Sure.
But, you know, it was interesting to kind of get a little inside scoop, I guess. I never knew Kerry Von Erich lost his foot.
I didn't either until I was reading about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might check it out.
Check
We'll
it out.
see.
If you liked wrestling, watch the movie. The movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
That was good.
Oh, that's depressing too.
They're all depressed. There's no fun that comes out of wrestling unless you're a fan. I don't know if Gary has seen this yet. He's getting real fired up for some movie that's coming out soon with Nicolas Cage called Long Legs.
I've never heard of it. I haven't seen anything on it.
I guess it's like a new horror movie.
Okay.
And
Oh.
Cage is going to be.
Oh.
It's a serial killer movie.
Oh, I just went and saw. What did I go see in the theater by myself for a review recently? That was a.
You saw Civil War.
Yeah, that was a preview.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and yes. I know exactly what he's talking about. I do know. Yeah.
He won't stop talking about this movie. Like he's got like tickets already type thing. He's camped out, etc.
I'm telling you, Nicolas Cage is coming back.
Long leg. Yeah, but the problem is that he's so bad with money. He's a gambler and a womanizer.
Well, God bless him, but he needs a couple of handlers to come in. We'll be his managers, like wrestlers. He's our wrestler. We'll be his manager.
He needs that one guy, the gambler. Was that you who met him, or was that just Big Cat who met that guy?
Oh, that was Big Cat.
Well, okay.
Yeah, the Asian gambler who
who
bet on NBA basketball. Yeah. I bet on football. I bet on horses, and I bet on women.
No, well, I think that was basically the gist of it.
Yeah.
If we ever get him here or we go down there to talk, it would be great to get the actual story. But yeah, these guys were gambling at some like Paigao or Baccarat table, and they were next to some dude who had been there all day gambling, hadn't moved, hadn't gotten up to take a piss. The only thing he'd done is smoke a few cigarettes. And they started talking to him, and he referred to himself as the gambler.
But it was as a gambler.
Yeah. My friend, they call me the gambler.
Hans Bricks.
Yeah, and they took a shine to this guy, and we're asking him questions, and they're like, so hey man, so what do you really gamble on? What's your big game? And I gamble on NBA basketball, NCAA football, NFL, boxing. Mixed martial art, horses, women. The last one was just he threw out women.
Yeah, how do you gamble on women?
They never, to this day, figured out what that meant. But I'm guessing there was some sort of weird gambling ring in the
some sort of Vietnamese
underbelly
back
of the
room.
Orient.
Yes, the Orientals are gambling on women.
Like you walk into a place like it's like the scene in The Deer Hunter.
That's what I was exactly thinking. And then there's a guy gambling on women.
Or like the scene at the very beginning of Rambo 3 where he's stick fighting, and in there, whatever, you gamble on women, and I don't know what they're doing, but you're gambling on them.
Gambling on it.
Yes.
There's a woman who's going to end up on top.
Oh, NBA basketball, horses, women. Thanks, by the way, for bringing in this kind of it was like a cornucopia, like a tasting menu of whiskeys.
Samplers.
The whiskeys were good. I've had two
What
of
about
them.
the platter?
The charcuterie?
Yeah.
Or up until 2 years ago was known as a meat and cheese board.
Well, not in my house, but
Have they always been known as charcuterie, even back then?
I would have to go back 20 years with that reference, and then it was like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is just meat and cheese. No, it's charcuterie.
Well, okay. First and foremost,
thank you.
It was amazing. Second of all,
and she knows who she is.
Yep.
She does the intros.
We
English ones.
It was a little touch and go with today's show. I had to go to work for a little while, kind of last minute, and then I was gonna say we're gonna have to cancel, but we just started a little bit later. But the real kicker that got me into gear, and I had to swing some dick at work, was Bubs sent me a photo of this charcuterie board saying, I can't believe you're fucking doing this. What the fuck? Look what I made for you.
And then
or
what
look
was
what she made for you.
And then what was the follow-up? You're dust to us.
You're dust and you're a fag.
Yeah, that was it. Then you responded a half hour later, dude, I'm clear. Let's do this.
Well, no, I wasn't clear, but I knew I was going to be able to get out of there within 2 hours of what our original window was.
Yeah. So my mind fuck got you.
It got me moving, but also I didn't know you guys were bringing charcuteries into the mix.
You never know what I'm bringing.
I know.
I bring shit.
It was great. The olives, the pepperonis,
sausage, cheese.
The pickle wrap things are my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good
pistachios.
board. It's going good
nuts.
with the whiskeys.
It is. It's going too well. I have to stop.
No problem. I'll stop you.
Mm-hmm. I'm done. 2 is enough.
I'm having a maker's mark, and then that'll be it for me.
Good. What do you got planned for the rest of the night? Thursday night, beautiful night.
Karaoke night. Down
Are you going up there?
The club. I'll probably. I'll make a.
What's your song?
I'll walk into the club.
That's a loose term.
I'll walk into the club,
Okay.
my normal sort of thing. It's Thursday, so I'm going to wear something a little nice. I'm going to put on my best pair of Z Cavaricis.
What are you going to sing? What's going to melt the panties?
Sex on Fire by Kings of Leon.
Oh, really?
That usually, gets them going.
In your mind?
I will most likely make an appearance.
Really?
I likely will not sing. I just go there for the,
Entertainment
fellowship.
value.
The whiskeys were a hell of a gift. The charcuterie was, once again, a hell of a gift. I got to tell you about another gift.
Please do. I do notice, and I'm just going to paint the picture right now. An LP is on the wall down at the studio. It is titled Barry Lyndon. I would imagine it's the soundtrack.
It is. Yes.
Tell me about it.
So we have a little area of knickknacks here in the studio, one thing that we do want to acknowledge is we got a wreath made from one of our fans, Shannon.
I met Shannon.
Yeah. She made us a nice wreath, red, white, and blue with it's got like a little police car on there and some bombs and some handcuffs and stuff. So thank you for the wreath.
I think she wants you to role play.
We got another one here last week.
From the instructor.
The instructor rolled into town with another buddy of ours. Both these guys say hello. And the instructor, I guess, was at some flea market or thrift shop. And he was going through the record album bin.
He's looking for an AC/DC album.
Something.
Or,
Yep.
you know, some Iron Maiden or Megadeth.
Lo and behold,
And there it is.
an LP from 75, the actual Barry Lyndon original motion picture soundtrack. Bubs, this is
How many do you think of those
not
were
only is
sold?
it a good gift,
How many of those
this
were
is hard to
sold?
find.
Well, you
Like,
can't find that. That's
The thing that I think is cool is it has the original sleeve inside,
nice.
which on those record sleeves, you could write to the company and like order away for more records and stuff, kind of like the Columbia House thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a period movie, so all the music is classical. Handel. Some of these are what's just known as traditional, meaning they don't really know who wrote it. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Handel, Schubert, Vivaldi, Bach, and some more Handel.
So when you were listening to this,
Yeah, I did. I listened to it about that night I did.
was there music in there besides listening to it in the movie? Did you recognize it as a common piece?
I recognized some of the pieces, from the movie.
Only from the movie, not
There
as...
were a couple pieces. There was one or two that I recognized where I said, I've heard this classical sort of thing before.
Yeah.
I mainly just think it's a great gift for the curiosity portion of it. You know what I mean? Anybody can listen to the Barry Lyndon soundtrack right now on Spotify or whatever they want.
You could also listen to the Bubs and T Bag show.
You can, yeah. No, the Barry Lyndon album, though, is a fantastic gift thanks to the instructor. I've listened to it. I love it. And love looking at the cover.
I think that's the perfect gift for the perfect person in you, because you're the only guy that knew anything about Barry Lyndon besides the actors, the key grip, Stanley, and the other people associated with that movie. Another thing that popped into my head about wrestling, Andy Kaufman. Do you remember Andy
his whole
Kaufman?
shtick where he wrestled Lawler was the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, really. And he would show up on Letterman with the neck brace on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite, though, is...
And then he would wrestle women.
He would just wrestle like regular, kind of like large women.
Yeah. Well, it was all set up. There was
Yeah,
nothing.
but I mean, like, that
Yeah.
was his thing, though,
Yeah.
where... And then he
I
made a
challenge
video
you.
where he wrestled some girl outside and then beats her up. Tells her to get out of there and then turns to the camera and is like, "That's right, Lawler. I'm going to take you down next." You know what I mean? Like, it was that type of stuff. And
Right now, you can't, nobody's doing that.
I know. That's why I mean, like, when you do, like, to anyone listening to this, look up the Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler thing on YouTube and give yourself a good 2 hours because it's well worth it.
It is. It is. It's very entertaining.
Bubs, there's still some people out there that think little portions of that maybe were a little more real than...
It's not.
Well,
It's not.
I think Lawler might have gotten... First, here's the only thing that I think might be a little bit, have some realism to it. Kaufman's a celebrity. He's an outsider to wrestling. He's never wrestled. And he's putting on this sort of shtick persona that wrestling is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing it in 1981 or 82.
Mm-hmm.
That's long before they... I don't know how it's pronounced. I don't know if it's kayfabe or... I think it's kayfabe.
Okay, I don't know what you're referencing.
I think it's a Japanese word, but it's basically what they refer to as is when a wrestler is a wrestler, he's never going to break that wrestling persona,
Okay.
even in public. And
Yeah.
back in the days, a lot of those guys didn't
Yeah.
when it was
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a younger thing.
Yeah.
I think that Kaufman, there's a scene where Lawler bitch slaps him. I believe it's on the Letterman show, right?
That was all staged.
I know it was staged, but dude, did you see that slap?
Yeah.
Buddy,
I probably saw it live on TV.
Right, but I mean, I don't think Kaufman knew. I mean, he knew that slap was coming, but when it hit him, You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, that's a whole new
that's
type
fine.
of thing.
That's a great reaction.
But he was the best on that because, once he would get hit by Lawler, and then he eventually agreed to wrestle him
And
in
he had
a
those
ring.
bad sweatpants on.
Yeah, but his whole shtick was, "That's right, Lawler. I'm from Hollywood and you're not, and I'm going to sue you." That was his thing.
He knew he was a rat.
Was to go in and start threatening to sue.
Yeah.
And then even at the end, like when he would engage with the audience at the actual match where he wrestled Lawler, he's getting like carried or thrown out of there, yelling at the fans going, "I'll sue you all."
Yeah. Did you know his alternate ego?
Tony Clifton?
Yeah.
That was great.
God. Just taking it, making the audience so
A
uncomfortable.
horrible, horrible comedian.
Yeah.
And that was his whole shtick.
he was like a lounge
Yeah.
act, singer, comedian, insult comedian.
He had to put on like a whole suit to do that.
Well,
guy.
he looked like he gained weight. But
like a mask and everything type
but
deal.
there was a minute there where people didn't know it was him.
They totally did.
Yeah,
For
Tony Clifton.
I think it was for like a year they didn't know it was him.
Yeah, Tony Clifton. Yeah, and
He would open for some of Andy Kaufman's acts or whatever and be like, fuck you guys, or whatever he would do.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
I like the Andy Kaufman Lawler bit. I'm going to have to watch that again.
Yeah. No, that's comedy. People are going out on a limb.
Yeah.
Nowadays, what do you got? You got Dave Chappelle doing his regular shtick, and it's controversial.
He's funny, yeah.
But it's controversial because he's doing his regular comedy that was normal 20 years ago.
What else do you have? I don't know. Probably some dude vaping. You've got the Masturbation Network, which is
baiting,
keeping America baiting since 2003.
Yeah.
I don't think we're far off from seeing the Masturbation Network for real.
Well, I think it's right in your hand right there. It's a phone.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
The Naked Lady Giver.
Up next, Sweet Bang Tube.
Baiting.
Keeping America baiting. Keeping America baiting, keeping Bubs and T Bag baiting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. Had a great day. Had a great time talking wrestling and Idiocracy and shit like that. So let's watch another movie next time and drink another thing of whiskey and see where it goes.
What about we got to get back to old Minnesota?
That's right. What do you think coming up? I mean, I did see that the legislature 2 days ago passed a 1,500-page bill.
Oh.
No one was allowed to read the bill from the opposing side or know even what was in it before it was passed at midnight.
Was it passed?
It was.
Oh, all right. I was at a couple of state facilities recently. And you know what caught my eye? The flag. The state flag. It is horrible.
Piece of shit.
Horrible.
Yeah.
I could have drawn something up better.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you for the whiskey, Bubs. You got anything else to say on our way out?
I don't know, T-Bag. Earlier tonight, I was talking about traveling the world, studying, working out, learning about the ancients. And tonight, T-Bag, I'm going to go join you tonight at karaoke, and I'm going to take it to you. We're going to butt heads tonight, but I know one thing. I'm going to walk out with your girlfriend tonight. Woo!
Well, Jesus, Bubs. Consider me scared. And not only that, the belt is yours, my friend. That was quite a promo you just cut there.
Thank you.
What's your ring name? Do you have one at all?
Bubs.
The Machine?
Bubs.
Everybody, thanks again. Thanks to Bubs. We're going to go do some karaoke. Talk to you next time, about a week. We'll see you soon.
Bubs out.